Thank you, Jean. All right, so I'm just starting this off letting everyone know all the faculty who have been identified as teaching Hyflex have been added to this course. If you do not have access to that course, just let me know and we can add you. And then if you want to get to it, there's two ways. There's this little waffle, and you can search for it by just putting Hyflex, and it should come up. And then also, if you scroll down here in this My Courses widget, it will be under this tab, DPT. It will say Hyflex. We've just added some resources, some more content for training. We have this video here. This is a great one to send to students. Just explains what Hyflex is. We also have some training videos we've completed before. We also have these instructions. So basically, this is going to walk you through all the steps that I will be discussing today with some screenshots. So if you need that, that is provided. We have some other stuff in there too. So what I'm going to start off with is creating the Teams appointment. You can do this a couple ways. If you are familiar with Teams and you want to make it inside of Teams, it's totally up to you, more power to you. For this training, I'm going to show how to create a Teams meeting, but through your Outlook calendar. We've sort of found this to be the fastest, easiest way to go about doing that. So if you want to start off in your Outlook, typical email, you can also do this in the client, in the downloaded version, but I'm going to do it here in the web version of Outlook. So once I'm in Outlook, I'm just going to go over here to the calendar. And then this is going to show me all my appointments and stuff. And then if you go up here to this button that says New Event up in the left-hand corner, just going to select that. And it's going to give me typical meeting options to fill out. We suggest in the title that you just put your course name and number. That way you can easily identify what that appointment is. So let's say, I'm going to call this one Hyflex 101. Now here in the attendees, all you have to do is invite yourself. So you would just put in your email, click yourself. There is an optional attendee setting. So if you click that, if you want to add your chair, if you want to add some other professors, that way people just have a little reminder of that on your Outlook calendar, you can do that. But as far as Hyflex goes, all you need to do is invite yourself. Now I'm going to go down here to the date. This is going to be the date of my first class. So if my class was first meeting next Monday, I would select that. And then I'm going to select the start and end time of class. So let's say 4 to 5 is when my class is being held. Now this setting here, repeat, the default is never, and basically that's just saying that this appointment is only this one time. It's not going to show up on my appointment ever again. So if you want it to show on your Outlook calendar for the entire course, that's where this option is really important. So if we hit this drop down, at the very bottom, there is an option that says custom. I'm just going to select that. And this gives you the option to select what day or days that your class is being held. So if it was Monday, just every Monday, I could leave that like that. Or if it was Monday, Wednesday, or let's say it's Tuesday, Thursday. So let's say I'm going to choose Monday, Wednesday. So you just select those days, and they're just bubbles. All you got to do is tap on them. And then right below that, it's going to ask you for an end date. So that's going to be the last time that your class meets. So for example, let's say the last day that my class is going to meet is December 15th, that last Wednesday. So once you select what day or days and then that end date, Just gonna wanna hit save. Now here for location, you can fill that out if you wanna put, have a reminder of where your room is located, you can. You do not have to put anything in here, it's not required, but what's really important is right here to the right of it, this toggle that says Teams Meeting. If we select that, it's gonna fill it in. My contrast color is pink, so it's filling in with pink. I think the default is blue, so whatever your contrast color it is, it will fill in with that color, so you know that it's selected. And what that's gonna do is automatically create a Teams meeting link inside of this Outlook appointment for me. So I fill everything out, you know, a title, I added myself, I did the first day, I did the time, repeats every Monday and Wednesday until the 15th. I selected this toggle, and now I'm gonna hit send. And if you're familiar with creating appointments in Outlook, this is probably all looking familiar so far. But if you are inside the calendar, something just to remember, if you have a bunch of appointments on your calendar, like I have on today, and your meeting that you need the link for is later in the afternoon, it might get hidden. So let's say if I go over here and I know I have an appointment, but I'm not seeing it, now it has these 3 dots at the bottom. So if you select those, then you'll get this extended view on the right side that will show all the appointments. So that way, if you make your appointment and it's missing, you can't find it, just remember if those 3 dots are showing, there's some appointments that you can't see. But for this case, on Monday when I have my class, I only had 2, so it's right here. I'm just gonna hover over that appointment and I'm gonna double click it. And that will give me this view. And as you can see in the description area of my meeting, now there is some Microsoft options. There are these meeting options that we are going to go into and change 2 things. This Learn More just takes you to the Microsoft website, has some training content from them, and then this is a link to join the meeting. So first, what I'm going to show you is going into the meeting options. You should be able to just click it. You might have to click control on your keyboard and click it. And what it should do is open in a new window. If it doesn't, I've had this happen with a faculty member, you can go ahead and highlight the text, right click, and then if you copy the link and paste it, that's a workaround. So if this doesn't automatically open, you can do that, but it should just open in a new tab. And we're gonna change this very first setting that says who can bypass the lobby. Default is people in my organization and guests. We're gonna have you change it to the one right below it that says people in my organization, no guests. I'm sure most of us are familiar with Zoom bombers, people coming into online meetings that aren't supposed to be there, people who aren't students. Choosing this option here just helps with some of that cybersecurity, helps eliminate that possible threat. And then the second thing we recommend that you change is this option here, who can present. Default is everyone. That's just saying that anyone who comes into the meeting, they can share their screen, they can mute people, they can kick people out, and of course that can get a little hectic. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit that drop down and we're gonna change it to only me. So what that's changing it to is that you are the only person by default for that meeting who can present things. You're the only one who can mute. You're the only one who can kick people out. That's not to say if you need students to present, students at home, if you decide one day that you want some students to present some things that are on their desktop, maybe show a presentation, while you are in that Teams meeting, even with this option, you can then promote people for the time being that they need to present, and then you can take them back down and take that right away. So this is just by default, you're the only one who can do those things. There are some other options like recording automatically. Default is that you have to go in and start a recording. But say you just want it to start, you might forget, but you want your class to be recorded. You can hit this toggle and select yes for record automatically. The only caveat is that as soon as the meeting opens, the recording is going to start. If you get that recording started or you get that meeting open and it's recording, if you still need to get some things ready, if you're still not completely ready for class, the class session isn't starting, it's going to record all of that. But that is something that you can change. Something that we've also had some faculty members suggest that they would like to change is this option here, allow meeting chat. The way that it's set up generically is that anytime a student wants to go into that chat, they can ask questions after class is finished. Maybe they forgot to ask something, they can just throw that message in there. But some faculty have said that they don't want students to be in there after hours. So if you don't want that, what you can do is select this option here, in meeting only. And that basically is just saying that the chat is only available while the meeting is active, when you as the organizer have it open. And that is totally up to preference. If you want to change that, default is enabled. Everyone can go into the meeting chat when they need to. Something to remember, we recommend that you tell your students or ask your students to download Teams onto their computers, and that they sign, when they come into the meeting, that they sign in with their DSC credentials. If they don't, they'll come in as a guest, which some of you did that for this meeting. Then you'll have to admit them, and then they will not be able to access the chat after this or after the meeting. So everyone who is a guest in this meeting right now will not be able to go into the chat feature once this session is over. And that's the same for students. And that's a safety feature. That way people who are outside of the college, if we had them in a meeting, we don't want them to be able to just access the Teams after the fact. So that is something to remember for students. If they're telling you, oh, I can't get into the chat, the first question would be, oh, are you signed in with your DSC credentials? So like the two things we recommend, this first one, who can bypass, who can present. Other options are up to your discretion if you want to change them or not. And then we're just going to hit save. Also, you can go back into these options, these meeting options, at any point and change them. If you go through a couple of sessions of Hyflex class and you decide, okay, maybe I do want to change that meeting chat, you can do that at any point. You would just do the same thing. You'd go back into this appointment and you'd hit that meeting options. So I saved those two options. Now I'm going to show you how to create groups in Falcon Online. And this step is totally optional. It's just nice to have a reminder inside of the course shell of what students are in what group. Because of course with Hyflex, we're gonna need to split our students into two groups. We have a group that's gonna be face-to-face and we have a group who's gonna be virtual. So if we go into Falcon Online and we go into our course shell for the class, if we hit tools up here in the navigation bar, it's gonna give us a drop down. And then there is this option here for groups. So if we select that, this is what it's gonna look like if you have no groups already. If you do have groups, they'll show and you can still make new ones. But let's say new category, this big blue button. I'm gonna select that. Then it's gonna ask you for a name. That can be anything you want. If you wanted to call it something like Hyflex, so you know it's the groups for Hyflex, you just wanna call it groups, you wanna call it cohorts, totally up to you. We're gonna leave this enrollment type as the default, which is no auto enrollments, just saying that students don't get to pick what group they are in. If you in the future want something where students can like enroll themselves in a particular group, you can do that with this self-enrollment. But for Hyflex, we're gonna just leave it as no auto enrollments. Then here, for number of groups, we're gonna do 2. Just put a number 2 in there. And then we're gonna save. Now once it saves, you can see we have 2 groups. We have this group 1, we have this group 2. If I go and hover over group 1 and select it, now I can change the naming. So if I wanted to call it something like Monday class or Tuesday class, and then the other group could be Wednesday class or Thursday class, it's totally up to you, or you can just leave it group 1, group 2. But the important part is selecting this button here, enroll in users. So when we do that, it's gonna show us a whole class list. Of course, we can go through. And then, so for group 1, let's say I want these first 5 students to be in group 1. Maybe they're the students who are gonna meet you or meet virtually on the first day of class. We're just gonna go in these boxes to the right of their name. I'm just gonna do a little check mark. 3, 4, 5, and then I'm gonna save. So now I have 5 students in group 1. And you can also, if you go into the class list and you go to a student, you can see what groups they're in. So if you wanna do it that way too, if you just for some reason you need to figure out what group one student is in, you can do that through this class list. Okay, but I'm gonna go back to groups. So that was tools, groups, and I'm gonna put my next 5 in group 2. So I just click group 2, enroll users. I'm gonna scroll down, I'm gonna choose my next 5 students. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, gonna save. Now those 5 students are in group 2. Now with Hyflex, it's really important to send out an email to your students before the first day of class, especially since some of the students are going to be meeting virtually for that very first day. They're not gonna have access to their course shell until that very first day, so sending that email ahead of time is really important, letting them know what groups they're in, where the class is, some things like that, and also giving them that Teams link. Also, we've included in that Hyflex course that everyone's been enrolled in, if you go to the content section, we've provided an email template. And that just has some verbiage saying some things you might want to say to the students, you know, addressing that first group, addressing that second group. We've provided information to the help desk for students. So students who are at home, if they're facing some technical issues, you can just send them over to the help desk, direct them that way. By no means do you need to be every single student's tech support. So if you have a student who's at home and they're having an issue, you don't have to completely stop your class and just address them. Just direct them to the help desk and they'll be able to troubleshoot and walk them through any steps that they need to do. But let's say I went and I'm gonna use this template. So you can just highlight it, copy it, and I want to send an email to my entire class. The easiest way to do that is going to the course shell, going to this button here in the nav bar, which is class list. It's going to show me all my students. And then here, If I select this box in the very top left corner, that's going to select all the students in my class. So I'm just going to hit that, and then I'm going to hit email. And as you can see, all those students auto-populated in the email. As far as the subject, I might suggest something like first day of class instructions, something like that, but it's totally up to you. And then I'm just going to paste that email template. And then, of course, you go in and change the information to make it pertain to you and your class. But then, as you can see at the very bottom, we put this placeholder that you're going to want to put your link. You might be wondering, well, how do I get the link? So all you got to do is go back to that calendar appointment that we were in before. So you just double click, it opens up. And right here, where it says click here to join the meeting, this is an active link. And what you can do is you just hover over it. You're going to right click on your mouse, and then I'm going to do copy link. It's really important if you see something that says just copy, that would just be copying the text and you wouldn't get that link. So it's really important that it says link or address. It might say link address. Sometimes it changes what it says depending. So I'm just going to copy the link. And then I'm going to go back to that email that I was creating. So I have this text down here highlighted. And then I'm going to go up here to the navigation bar and I'm going to do a quick link. It looks like a little chain. And when I select that, I'm going to scroll down a little bit and it's going to say URL. So if I select that, I'm going to take that link that I just copied and paste it. And as you can see, it's this really long, crazy Teams link. And we don't want that to take up our whole email. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just call it, let's say, this virtual classroom link. If you want to call it Teams meeting link, whatever, but just basically trying to get the point across that this is the link that students who are virtual are going to use. Then I'm going to hit insert. And as you can see, then it turns into this active link, and students can use that to get into the virtual meeting on that first day. And that's really important. So I sent my email, let all the students know. Now, it's really good to have that information in as many spots as you can. So another place to put it is in your announcements. So if you're in the course shell, if you don't have any announcements yet, there will be a box and there will be some words inside that box that will say create an announcement. You can select that and open up a new announcement tool. Or if you already have announcements, you can hit this down arrow and then do new announcement. Just going to put a headline. You could copy and paste that same verbiage you used in your email, put it here. You can just address both groups of students if you want to, but if you want to put an announcement, send announcements to each group individually, you can do that. That helps with cutting down some of that text on your home page, and it makes it a little bit clearer to the students. Okay, I am group B, and this is just my information. Sort of help with eliminate some confusion. So if I want to just address group A, say I'm talking to only group 1, group A in here, if you scroll down, there is this option here, additional release conditions. And to do so, I'm just going to hit create and attach. And it's going to ask me what type I want. And I want group enrollment. So once I hit group enrollment, then it's going to give me the option to select what group that I want to address. So I'm going to say group 1. And if you see, now only people who are in group 1 will see this announcement. So I'd have just group 1, go down, create and attach under additional release conditions, and then I select group enrollment and group 1. And I'd publish, and then I would do the same process for group 2. And that's totally up to you, your preference. If you want to use the groups and do group announcements with release conditions, or if you don't even want to make the groups and you just want to make a general announcement, that is your decision to make. All right, so that is basically all of the pre-planning steps. You made your meeting, you made it through Outlook, you sent that email to all the students, and we made an announcement. Now let's pretend it's the first day of class. In the content section of this Hyflex course, we did include a classroom checklist. And this is really nice. You can just use this to basically make sure that all the equipment and all the technology and software that you should have for Hyflex is in the classroom. So first being, there should be 2 monitors. That's really important because you'll have a monitor that you can keep Teams in. That way you can see the chat, you can see those students who are at home, and then you'll have a monitor that you will use to share to the students at home and the students in the class. Also making sure that this webcam is on a tripod and it's in the classroom. We have worked on adding USB extensions to these cameras. If this equipment is not in your classroom, just let your chair know and they will need to submit a technology request to get that equipment installed. This is the wireless microphone. We are checking these out on a person-to-person basis. That way everyone has their own microphone for sanitary reasons, and these are being rented out by Instructional Resources. So if you need one of these, please contact us and we will schedule getting one of these to you. Making sure Teams is downloaded. Every computer should have Teams. If it does not, please contact the help desk and they can help get that going. And also, it's just good to make sure that the Teams, when it is downloaded, that it is the most current version. If you go in and it looks like this with the navigation bar down at the bottom, that's the outdated version. It should look like this one up here. It's all the same features, just in a different spot. But it's good to have it updated before class because you don't want it to try and start downloading a update when you're in the middle of class. And then also you can notify the help desk if you need an update. So this is just a little checklist that we've included in this class. Also, I recommend that you just get everything that you typically use to teach ready first. If you have PowerPoint presentations, if you have YouTube videos that you like to share, if you need to show them a course shell, get all that stuff ready first and then worry about getting Teams open. So there's a couple ways you can do that. You can go into Teams, open it that way. You can, if once you have that announcement, you can open the link through the announcement. But I'm gonna open it here in my Outlook calendar. Same thing we've been doing before, double click. And then instead of copying this, I'm just gonna hit this link. Click here to join the meeting. That's gonna open up this new window in my web browser. This pop-up here should show. If it doesn't, for whatever reason, it's going to be this third option, open your Teams app. We do not recommend using Teams in the web version, you're not gonna get all the features that you need. So it's really important that Teams is downloaded and installed on your computer. So if we do select that, we're just gonna open. And then if you are already in, if you are already logged into your Teams, you're gonna get this view. If you're not already logged into Teams, and this is the first time you're opening it, you will get basically just this window with the camera, and there'll be a little text at the very bottom. It's gonna be tiny font, but it's gonna ask you to log in, and it's really important for you to log in. So whether you do that first, or if you do it through that little sign in option at the bottom. So I'm signed in, and this is what it's gonna look like. I'm gonna turn the camera on, and this is my little webcam. If you turn this on and it has maybe a document camera or maybe no camera is showing, all you have to do is, there's two ways to do this. There's this little gear icon, and there is these two sliders. They both do the same thing. They open device settings. So I can do gear, and I can do these sliders. And then for camera, I'm just gonna wanna hit live streamer 313. And once you get this set up the first time, it should remember these settings the next time you go into your meeting. But if for whatever reason you go into it the next time and this isn't selected, all you do is you go to the camera, do the drop down, and it's gonna be this one here, this live streamer. The default for the noise suppression will be this auto default. You can leave that. I suggest turning it off. Basically what the noise suppression does is if there's some background noise happening, it will try and quiet it. But sometimes it can affect your level as well and make you sound a little robotic, maybe tinny. So I just suggest having it off. Because usually when you're teaching, your students in the classroom are gonna be pretty quiet anyways until they have a question. And as you can see, I don't have the wireless microphone plugged in yet. So all I'm seeing is the microphone that is on the webcam. And you can use that if you want to. It just picks up a lot more of the room, sound that's going on in the background. But also, if you're a faculty member who likes to walk around when you're teaching, you've got to go up to the board a lot, you like sort of being active while you're teaching. If you do that with the microphone that is built into the camera, the farther you get away, the quieter you're going to sound. So the students who are at home aren't going to have a consistent level. And then also, we're just going to make this there. So I'm just going to show you this little camera or this microphone here. So it comes with two pieces. We've got the transmitter here, and then we've got the USB dongle. Of course, this is going to be what you put in your pocket, what you clip. It has a little clip on it. And then this is the actual microphone itself, this little guy here. With the little windscreen. It's got a little alligator clip. You can take that, you can clip it to your lanyard, you can clip it to your shirt, up to you. And then just has a little connector with 3 prongs. Just line that up, plug it in, put it in your pocket. There is an on button. Just have to hold that. And then you'll get this little indication light. It's orange. And that just lets you know that this guy is on. And then with the receiver, sorry about that. all you do is like any flash drive, any USB connection type thing that you're used to, you're just gonna take it, plug it into an open spot. And there is also a orange light on it when it is on. A good way to know that these two things are paired is that when you turn this off, the light on this is gonna turn off too. So if you turn this off, that turns off, they're both paired. So now that that is plugged in, I have the option to change my microphone. And as you can see, it automatically selected that wireless microphone now. But if it doesn't, it's just this one here, the Samson RXD wireless. So I have my live streamer as my camera. I have the Samson as my microphone. And now I'm ready to join. So once I join, so here's this meeting we're in now, just so you can see. Got all these good features up here. So this up here, this navigation bar, this is your best friend. So here in participants, we can see everyone who's in the meeting. When you create your own meeting, I was not the person who created this meeting that we're all in right now, so it does not show me as an organizer. But when you're in your meeting that you created, it will show right underneath you, it will say organizer. And then your students will all show below you in a separate category because they'll just be attendees. And then as you can see, we have these options here, these three dots. We can pin people, we can mute them. So if someone forgets to turn off their microphone and something distracting's happening, you can mute them. You can make them, this would be making them a attendee, but it also works in the opposite way of making them a presenter. And then also you can remove them. And then this is also a good, really quick indication of who is in the meeting right now. And you also, as you can see, there is this mute all. So if you have a couple people with their microphones on, you can just hit this mute all. Then right next to that, we have the chat. And this is really important. We recommend that once you open your Teams, drag it into that second monitor and leave it in the second monitor with the chat open the entire time. So as you can see, if anyone puts in a message, you'll see it, you'll get a notification. You can see when guests join. And then here, this is something you can show your students. If you ask them to raise their hand, you'll get a little notification, okay, this student has their hand up. You'll also see it here in the participants. And if you have multiple students who raise their hand, it will show in chronological order. So the person who's at the top with their hand raised, that's the very first person who raised their hand, and then it just keeps going in order. And then of course, once they lower their hand, that notification will go away. So we are recording this meeting that we are in right now. So if you were not, you just select this ellipsis icon here. It's these three dots. You're gonna get this big drop down. Almost near the bottom, you're gonna go here and it's gonna say start recording. And you're just gonna select that and the recording is gonna start. When that recording starts, a transcription will also happen. And you will get a notification up here at the top, which I'm sure you all saw in this meeting when we started the recording. And that just lets you know, it lets students know, lets everyone in the meeting know that it is being recorded. And then also, there is this little indicator here in the top left next to your timer that's just letting you know, okay, this meeting is being recorded. And also, as you can see who started that recording. And then one of the most important features is sharing. So this button right next to the leave button, this is the share content button. If we select that, then it's gonna pop up and it's going to show us our windows. You're going to want to select the window that your Teams is not in. A good reminder or a little tip for yourself is if you have it on your computer and you're showing it through the projector for the students in the classroom to see, that's what you're going to want to select. That way the students who are in the class are seeing the same thing as the students who are at home. Also, if you're going to show something with sound, so like a video, make sure to select this toggle. That's really important because if we don't, the students at home, they're going to see what that video or whatever you're showing, but they're not going to hear it. And that's important. If we're showing a video, we obviously want them to hear it, so we're going to want to select this. But let's say I forgot to select it when I'm selecting my window. So if I select this one here, I forgot, you're going to get this bar up at the top. And in between, you will see there's this little icon. It's sort of like a monitor and a little speaker. So there's a big slash through it, and that's saying, okay, I'm not sharing my audio, my system audio. So if you forgot to hit that toggle that I showed you in the beginning, you can go in now. So if you have students who are like, oh, well, I can't see. So this button here. So as you can see, it's got a slash through it, and that's just letting me know that if I'm trying to show anything with sound, it's not including that audio. So if you have students who are saying, oh, I can't hear it, I can't hear it, you check right here and it's got the slash, just select that button. And now that now that I've selected it, the audio will be shared with those students. Now, if you want to stop presenting, if you're done showing whatever you're showing, you don't have any more presentations, you don't have any more videos to show, there's two ways to stop presenting. You can press this button here, the stop presenting, and that will stop. And as you can see, we have this big red box, and that lets us know that that's being shared. So if you hit stop presenting, red line goes away, we're not showing anymore, students at home won't see that anymore. Or now, where that share icon you used to show stuff before, now it has an X in it, and that's letting us know that I'm actively sharing, and to stop, you just hit that button again, and then you're not sharing anymore. So there's those two ways to do that. Also, I don't think I mentioned, if you are in your class, in your recording, but then something happens and you decide, okay, I need to manually stop this recording, you can just go back into that ellipsis icon and go back to recording and just hit that same button you hit in the first place. But by default, when you leave that meeting, the recording will stop. Once you're done with class, when class is over and you're ready to get that meeting done, I'm sure most of us are used to hitting this little leave button and just leaving the meeting, which you can do. But with that, students who are in the meeting will be in that meeting until they hit that button as well. So if you have a student who forgets to close out their meeting, they forget to hit this button, that meeting is going to be live and active until they go back in there and close it. And that will also mess with that recording that you're doing. It will mess with your attendance report because those things won't start generating until that meeting is finished. So what you do is in this drop down right next to leave, there's this option here, end meeting. If you select that, it's going to give you this little notification and you just hit end, and then it will kick everyone out of the meeting. So students will get kicked out. That way you don't have people lingering in there, and you can get those meeting recordings sooner than later. So it's just that drop down and then end meeting. You'll close that. Let's say I end that meeting. Your Teams chat should open. If it doesn't, it's just this chat option here inside of Teams. It should just generate. So it will typically be your most recent chat here. So here is just an example. Get this out of the way. So here is an example. As you can see, I did a recording and it's showing here. I have my attendance report, that transcription. Now for the meeting, you can just select these three ellipses and you can open it in Microsoft Stream. That is the default right now. It just sends it to Stream. You can grab this link, send that to your students if you would like, post it in your course. And then the attendance report is super important for keeping track of the students who were online. And you can just click that. It will download as an Excel sheet. And I will show you an example of what that looks like right here. So as you can see, it'll show you the time, the day and the time that you started the meeting. So these are yours. This is your information and the date. And then if you just open this a little bit, you're gonna see all the students. The very first name is gonna be you. You're gonna be the organizer. In this instance, we were all presenters, so that's what they would say. But if you change that setting that I mentioned in the very beginning, these students will show as attendees instead. So just keep that in mind. They'll probably say attendee. Then you can also see what time they joined, what time they left, and how long they were in there. So if you have a student who comes in for 15 minutes, they just make themselves noticed, they turn their camera on for a little bit, and then they leave, you will know that, and you can deal with that how you may, because of course with Hyflex, it is not a optional thing to be in the meeting. It's basically a replacement for being face-to-face, and if they're online, they need to be online the entire class session. All right, well, if there is no more questions, that concludes today's training. If you go into that Hyflex course shell that we provided, we also have a discussion tab. If you have a question that you think of after the fact, go ahead and put that in there. It's basically an open forum for all faculty members who are using Hyflex. Also, if you start teaching and you figure out like a really good workflow or maybe like a little trick, you can put that in there too, and that way we can sort of disseminate information with everyone using the Hyflex. Thank you. Glad to be of help. And then too, if you have anything you think of, you can reach out to anyone in instructional resources, online studies, send an email, make a call. We are here to help.